All right, we are warmed up. We've done our quick sketches. We've gotten our first grab. The first grab is like your first attempt at anything. It's typically your worst. You can only get better. I am going to once again estimate the height-width relationship that's the top of this image, and it looks just a little shorter than square, so we'll go down here. And I'm going to spend a little more time drawing it, and if I draw it well enough, perhaps I will enhance it using some line-based design. So again, I think, based on my first attempt, the low-hanging fruit, the place to start with this, would be over here at the back of the dog. Off the back of the dog, I would say that that's pretty low-hanging fruit, and then down, and then across. And I'm checking the length of this line against the length of this line. I probably didn't get it exact. It's very difficult to get things exact. If you want something to be exact, use a camera. Give yourself permission to get things close enough. If you give yourself permission to get things close enough, each drawing will be a little bit closer, and you will be, in good shape. I'm noticing that this this is almost vertical, but there is a slight angle to it. It goes over, and it looks like I'm probably going to end up shortening the snout of the dog because I've run out of space. That is an adaptation I make on the fly. That's okay to do. Notice that the angle of this line is the same as the angle of this line, so 1, 2. Those lines would perhaps be parallel or share a contour. There, this line angles towards the other side of the page, but once again, here and here, those two lines are parallel or share the same contour. If you were to draw a plumb line, which is a vertical line, you would notice that the point of the ear is very close to where the dog's front paw starts. And if you were to draw a plumb line from here, you would notice that the paw ends right about there with a line that is also parallel. So we've got these two parallel lines. If you were to draw a plumb line down, you would notice this is where the other paw starts. So we're going to do that. And again, it's all these measurements in the middle of this. So from here to here, here's the middle, draw down. There we go. And then in between here, again, so from here to here, we can even do horizontal measurements. And really what you're thinking about in this space is how to balance it. There's not much space in between these paws. They're all roughly the same height or the same width. There we go. So I've got the dog mapped in, and what I would like to do now is maybe settle down with a few of these lines. So I am going to use this bold marker, and I am going to make sure that I ghost, so that's where you trace around. And then I'm going to draw. So think of it like a golfer lining up their swing. 1 and 2. 1 and 2. Each line, this is kind of like your Mr. Miyagi wax on, wax off moment for those of you that have seen The Karate Kid. Great movie. With a parent's permission, you could see it. I don't know what it's rated. It's pretty tame, but there is some punching and kicking involved, so I definitely want to make sure that you guys ask parent permission. But it is like, it's these like little things. Like everybody asked me, Mr. Seidel, how do I become an artist? And that's a really big question. Learning art is a lot like learning a foreign language. And my best advice I can give any of you aspiring artists is to, wax on, wax off. Each line you draw should be treated as the most important line you ever draw. Because if you do this, if you draw these carefully considered lines, you will get better. If you just kind of like guess and wing lines out there, that is when you get into trouble. That's when you start to build bad habits. And you can always fix a bad habit, don't get me wrong. But I've believed, in my travels, I have discovered, I guess we'll say, that it's easier to just not develop the bad habit in the first place. And every one of you is in a position to do this. You are so young and you have so much life ahead of you, and nothing but good things are going to come your way already. So no one worry. But also, if you see, like right here, okay, this line, I think it's too far over. This space is too much. So I'm not going to, enhance that line. I'm going to draw a second one a little bit further over. I'm making these changes on the fly. No, I take that back. It's not on the fly because I've already shown you my work, all my measurements. And one of the things you can do with your drawings, should you so choose, you are always allowed to enhance it. So I know that Mr. Herring's iconography the dog is one of an authority figure, but I am going to choose to maybe add in a few of his action lines and give it more personality. And these lines contour off of each other. And maybe try to make it friendlier. We don't know. I don't want to fundamentally change. I mean, there is some image attribution going on here. We aren't exactly copying, but it's pretty close. In the next two, we're going to really maybe think outside the box. And then maybe, and this is my final touch, let's just do one more set of contour lines inside to give it more of a finished look, give it more appeal. I might even contour all the way around. At this point, I'm just kind of I'm in the flow. It's what I call it, the flow. And it's hard to get there. Everybody wants to be there. But it's, you have to maybe decide what you can do, and then, conditions. You're just kind of trying to set conditions so that you can have a creative thought. The myth of the creative artist is just that, a myth. Artists work just like everybody else. It doesn't get easier. So there we go. So there's my dog, and maybe we'll do a little bit of that. A little bit of that to sell this as a floor. But it's again, this is just an exercise in appreciate. You're hitting, when you work like this, you're checking off a lot of boxes. You're hitting your history, you're hitting your appreciation, you're hitting your application. So copying other artists' work is one of the best things you can ever do. And I hope you've enjoyed this demo.